Zhang Yi slipped through the shattered roof of Wanda Mall, the wind howling over the empty parking lot as he rappelled inside. The circular atrium still hinted at its former luxury, but the real prize lay in the basement supermarket, where shelves sagged under a blanket of frost. He scooped up whatever remained edible, frozen blocks of meat that resembled zombie flesh, wilted vegetable leaves, and biscuits swollen with dampness. Ignoring the rest, he stuffed 2 large duffel bags from his spatial storage until they bulged, then turned back to the surface, the cold biting his cheeks as he mounted his snowmobile. The engine's roar cut through the silent neighborhood, and by the time the sun slipped behind the horizon, Zhang Yi was back at Yuelu residential area. Faces pressed against every window, eyes wide with a mixture of awe and hunger. On the 15th floor, Huang Tianfang, the scarred leader of the Tianhe gang, stared at the sleek sled, his mind already racing with plans to seize it. Around him, his men muttered about sleds and the promise of food, their voices low but urgent. Yet the distance between the 2 buildings and the treacherous snow kept them from charging forward, and a cautious Huang warned his crew to act quietly. Inside the stairwell, Zhang Yi slipped through a window, the duffel bags heavy with his haul. He tapped his phone, a terse message to Uncle Yu that he had returned. The veteran, already on high alert from the snowmobile's arrival, rushed to meet him, his eyes widening at the sight of the bags brimming with supplies. While Zhang Yi stored the snowmobile back into his dimensional locker, the neighbors gathered around, their faces lit by the dim glow of the hallway lamp as they examined the salvaged meat and vegetables. Their excitement was palpable. After weeks of starvation, even the frozen provisions felt like a feast. Meanwhile, the Tianhe gang's lower-rank workers, restless and hungry, slipped knives and wrenches downstairs, whispering about a chance they might have missed. Huang Tianfang, still wary, reminded them of Zhang Yi's lethal reputation and the gun at his waist, urging restraint. The night settled with a tense stillness, the neighbors clutching their newfound food, the gang plotting in shadows, and Zhang Yi standing at the center, his calm demeanor masking the strategic advantage his snowmobile and armory loot had granted him. The promise of more scavenging trips lingered in the cold air, a fragile hope against the encroaching darkness. Zhang Yi returned to the underground refuge clutching 2 duffel bags of salvaged provisions, wilted vegetables, stale bread, and tough meat, sparking a wave of gratitude and chants of "Long live Zhang Yi" among the starving residents of Building 25. As Zhou Kor unzipped the bags, Zhang Yi imposed a harsh condition: only those willing to bear arms would receive food, branding idle hands unacceptable. The crowd formed a rigid line, their hope now tied to a grim oath to fight the unseen invaders. The tense atmosphere shattered when the Tianhe gang burst through a 4th-floor window, eyes fixed on the food piles. Zhang Yi, gun in hand, declared the supplies belonged to the building and offered 5 meals to anyone who killed a gang member. The promise ignited a violent resolve. Armed residents surged forward, turning the cramped space into a chaotic melee of shovels, steel pipes, kitchen knives, and gunfire. Uncle Yu swung an iron rod with ferocious force, crushing the gang's defenses while the others drove the 4 intruders to the ground, ending the immediate threat. In the aftermath, 2 neighbors lay gravely wounded. Zhou Kor, the building's surgeon, examined them and grimly concluded that without proper medical supplies the injuries were beyond saving, leaving the survivors to stare at the bleak reality of their lost world. Zhang Yi stood before the gathered residents of Building 25, his eyes scanning the crowd with a cold satisfaction. He called forward the 2 young men who had fought hardest during the recent Tianhe raid, Li Changbin and Jiang Lei, and thrust into their hands a generous haul of inflated bread, moldy biscuits, dehydrated leaves and a slab of pale meat. Their faces lit up with tears of gratitude as they promised unwavering loyalty, shouting that Zhang Yi was like a brother to them. The rest of the occupants received only scraps, tiny pieces of bread or a handful of biscuits, just enough to keep them from starving but never enough to become complacent. Zhang Yi explained his philosophy, comparing people to dogs that must always taste hunger to remain obedient, and warned that those who did not work hard would receive less. When the affluent second-generation resident Su Hao demanded a larger share, Zhang Yi handed him a single piece of fruit candy with disdain. Su Hao erupted in angry protest, shouting for the others to be killed, yet his feet refused to move. Zhang Yi dismissed his complaints as irrelevant, labeling him a trash piece that must obey. At his command, Li Changbin and Jiang Lei seized Su Hao, beating him mercilessly until he lay convulsing on the ground. When the beating seemed enough, Zhang Yi ordered them to stop, then stepped forward, lifted his snow-booted foot, and stomped down on Su Hao's hand, tearing flesh and forcing the candy loose. The crowd watched in stunned silence as Su Hao screamed, his grip finally releasing. With the lesson brutally taught, the remaining residents fell into a fearful obedience. No one dared to reject the meager rations, and Zhang Yi continued the distribution until only a few unlucky people were left empty-handed. The atmosphere settled into a tense, militarized cohesion, each neighbor now aware that food was both a reward and a leash, and that any sign of dissent would be met with swift, savage retribution.